Hello and welcome to Following On and an England Test Summer Preview live from Trent Bridge. I'm John Norman, and for the next hour we'll be alongside Jarrod Kimber as we build up to the first test of a summer and a winter that could well define the Bazball era. Coming up in the show, you'll hear an interview with the England skipper Ben Stokes, who admits it might be about time to add a bit more sense to the style, to the way he approaches the latter stages of his England career. A man whose nerves tonight won't be helped by the fact his beloved Manchester United are in a European final. Sam Cook, he's going to become an England player tomorrow, and we spoke about the game. Well, the games, I suppose, both Manchester United and this test match between England and Zimbabwe. You'll also hear from England coach Brendan McCullum. He spoke at length yesterday about Stokes, about the communication and re-engaging with the fans. So all of that to come, as well as a lowdown on England's opponent, Zimbabwe, who've had a bumper year of Test cricket. All of this and more, you're listening to Following On. Jarrod, good day to you, sir. It's great to have you. Do you know what? I was talking with Andrew McKenna off air a few moments ago about a show that took place with Ronnie Irani and Alan Brazil at the Trent Bridge Inn, just to the right of us, here back in 2013, ahead of the first Ashes Test of the summer, which was taking place here in Nottingham.
It was at the back of the pub, wasn't it? And I remember because you guys would be like, you know, come down. I was like, what? Are we in a pub? And I was kind of expecting...
Welcome to talkSPORT.
Yeah, and then we went out the back and it was actually just like a little space we had to ourselves with little trestle tables.
It was really pleasant. What I remember most about that, although it does bring into mind just how long you've been working on the cricket with myself at talkSPORT, it was 12 years ago now, was, can you remember when the team was released and suddenly everybody was running around asking the question, who's Ashton Agar?
Yes. No, I do. And I remember because he was one of the few players that I'd known a little bit about because I knew him through Melbourne cricket and everything. And I was like, I don't think Ashton Agar was expected to be picked.
I don't think Ashton Agar knew who Ashton Agar was.
Yeah, and obviously it ended up being the story. Do you remember, I think Phil Brown took a photo of him as he went out and he sort of had this like sort of boyish photo where he went, oh, I went out. And like, that was the front page of the papers. And what Ashton Agar doesn't even get on the back page of the papers anymore, John, in Australia, let alone anywhere else. His career's still going, by the way. Ashton Agar still exists. There's another Agar. You know, there's dueling Agars.
Well, there's a Wes Agar who has been playing for Kent for the last couple of years.
That's what I mean, the second Agar.
I remember being sent out to try and find... Because his mum and dad and one of his brothers was...
It might have been Wes,
It might have been Wes.
Yeah.
And if Ashton looked slightly dumbfounded by the situation, him then going out and scoring 98 and the media corps here in England basically hunting down his family for a quote.
I remember because we had someone trying to get it to his family over here, and I remember what I was doing was talking to the Sri Lankan Melbourne community, of which the Agars are a part of, and trying to see what we could find out at the back end. That was one of the more crazy moments. There's been some weird test matches here. Do you remember the one when... that we both would have covered when Mohammad Shami and James Anderson made 50s from the number 11 position?
That's still England's highest ever 10th wicket partnership. Jimmy Anderson and Joe Root is about 190 odd.
I couldn't even tell you that Joe Root was batting with him, by the way. I can only remember the Jimmy Anderson of that.
There was another weird moment here at Trent Bridge. On the day of the Football World Cup final in Brazil, audience 2 billion or something ridiculous, England and India were playing out one of the most tepid draws in recent history, and Alistair Cook was doing Bob Willis impressions as he bowled, and he got Ishant Sharma out.
He did get Ishant Sharma out. This is also the place where Broad took his wickets. Like, there's some really cool memories over the last 10 or 15 years. It's one of my favourite grounds in the world to go to. I just went downstairs and I took the photo because the press box has something up that says don't move because you will embarrass yourself because you are like hovering over the bowler's arm. It's a beautiful. It's not always the most air-conditioned certain times of the year if the sun comes in on the window, but it's a beautiful place to watch cricket from.
Oh, it's beautiful. And it's my favourite ground to broadcast because the window's actually open. You get a sense of the
broadcasters,
atmosphere.
you always care about windows. No one else in the world cares about windows.
Window cleaners.
Okay.
So there's two. And if you're on a long-haul flight, sitting next to the window is preferable sometimes.
Are you a window guy?
I am.
I've seen you as a window guy.
No, I didn't used to be. I used to try and pretend I wasn't on a flight. But then when I realised I was actually getting a little bit better was when I actually chose to sit by the window. Also means you can lean on it.
Yeah, no, I get you.
Anyway, for more...
for more window chat.
Don't go anywhere.
These are good windows, everyone. Wait, see if I can get a sound effect of the window.
There you go. You won't be able to do that when we're at Lord's. Jared is going to be alongside me for the next hour or so. I mean, one man... I wonder what it's like to know you're going to be making your Test debut, because Ashton Agar probably didn't know he was going to be making his Test debut for Australia until about 10 minutes before we found out, the morning of the game.
Can I give you a great story about that? Ed Cowan. Do you remember when Ed Cowan made his debut? He was at the MCG, and he'd never done really that many autographs before as a Sheffield Shield player, right? And so he did like 200 autographs. He was like, it was crazy, Jared. I was doing all these autographs. And then he walked into town to the hotel. And when he was outside the hotel waiting for someone, all the kids who got the autographs from him walked past him, and not a single one recognized him. And he's like, so I'm famous enough to get an autograph from, but no one knows who I am. And then tomorrow, everyone's going to know what I look like. And it was this weird middle ground, emotionally for him. It's still one of the more bizarre moments that of like, I'm famous but not famous, but I'm about to be very famous.
Well, I mean, Jimmy Anderson, who is very famous, he's on the back of buses and everything, he was in at talkSPORT a couple of weeks ago, and I asked him, of the bowlers coming through who've made their debuts recently and also are about to, which of the England bowlers do you think you're most excited to see where their career is going to go? With an idea that, I'm not going to start talking about high ceilings, but essentially I was. And he thought about it for a bit, and then he said, Sam Cooke. Now, Sam Cooke is going to make his debut tomorrow. I mean, I wonder how that feels. He's 27 years old. He's obviously been playing first-class cricket for a long time. I think he made his debut as a teenager.
300 wickets, I think?
Over 300 wickets. And nobody's taken more wickets in the county championship than him in the last 5 years. So he's not a youngster like Ashton was. He must feel as in command of his powers as at any stage. He's had a couple of injuries, but nothing too bad. So I don't know, what must it feel like to be excited but also confident? He certainly spoke confidently yesterday, but equally with a huge summer and winter to come, the understanding that if he makes a success of this, he's going to be famous in this ground, on the walk back from the ground, and in the hotel, and it could be life-changing.
I think I've talked to a lot of players who played their first game. The first test is the dream, right? Because that means that you've made it, and it's a culmination of everything. And it's not just we talk about the player, but it's the players' families, sometimes friends, partners, all these different people who play a part, coaches, the cricket club they grew up in. So it's a huge thing. But the career is actually the next 10 tests. So they used to have this rule in Australia that they used to call the 10 test rule, that for the first 10 tests everyone was just really excited to be there, and once you've played 10 tests you then just become a professional and you sort of go through it. And so getting to the 10 tests is the huge achievement, right? Like just being able to get that far. And so you play your first 10 for free, and then afterwards you want to be paid, but that sort of middle ground between the first and the second, right? And trying to prove yourself and say, I wasn't picked by accident, because how many players have just played one test? Like, there's a huge amount. Like, you couldn't actually make a documentary or write a book about one test wonders because there's so many of them.
Well, the other thing as well is you see so many players take to test cricket badly and never recover. You then see a lot of cricketers take to test cricket very well, but then peter off very quickly, which is what you're saying. So they race to, 30, 40 wickets. It looks like this is as easy as it gets, and then suddenly they never play again after wicket number 50. And then, of course, there's the next strand, which kicks on, and they have what you'd call a test career before they're moving on to the absolute greats of the game. So it is going to be fascinating to see how Sam goes. Jimmy Anderson won't be the only one looking on, wondering and hoping and thinking actually he's going to do really well. I did speak with him yesterday, 2 days out from the test match here at Trent Bridge. Let's hear what he had to say. Jimmy Anderson was in at talkSPORT last week, and I asked him the question of the current crop of England bowlers coming through. Who is the one that you're most looking forward to seeing how their career is going to pan out? And he said you. said that the people have been talking about you around the grounds and around the county scene for a number of years. People have been waiting and expecting you to get the call up because you are the one that people are talking about, and just wondering how that makes you feel.
I think obviously hearing someone like Jimmy speak about that's very humbling. It's obviously been my bowling idol growing up, so to even have them sort of mentioning my name is obviously very humbling and sort of makes me quite proud, to be honest. Hopefully get the chance and can prove him right, and so that's very kind of him.
You've obviously been in good form for a number of years now, but one of the adages is that you pick a player when he's in form. Do you feel in form at the moment? Does this feel like a right time for you?
Yeah, I think I feel pretty comfortable with where my game's at the minute. I think sort of being 27, I think the experience comes into it a little bit more as well, and I think I'm really happy with where my game's at the minute. The ball's coming out really nicely. I think I'm feeling pretty happy with where things are at, and the timing to get the call up is come at a nice time. I'm feeling good, feeling ready, body feels fresh, and raring to get going.
Do you visualise what it's going to be like to wear that England shirt, to step out there as a Test cricketer? Is that something that you go through in your mind in the build-up to something like this, if that is to take place?
Yeah, I think it's obviously you dream of playing from England as a very young cricketer, so it's something you sort of always think about, visualise and aspire to do. So I think it's only natural that you sort of play it over in your mind. I think I've tried to sort of stay quite focused on the training and the process leading into this week, and like I say, if it does happen, I think I'll probably think about it a little bit more once I know that I'm getting the nod. So I think it's something you definitely visualise and think about, but I'm trying to stay pretty chilled and just take it sort of day by day at the minute.
Jamie Porter was speaking in the build-up to Essex last game actually, and he was saying how proud he's going to be and how pleased he is for you to get this opportunity. It's not quite been an opportunity, though he's gone very, very close. But just to hear that about someone that's obviously shared the new ball and shared so many experiences, just have that backing back home, that must also add to the whole occasion. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, Paul's one of my best mates outside of cricket, and obviously incredibly fortunate to have shared the new ball, and he's taught me a lot sort of growing up, coming into the team. He's been someone I've looked up to massively as well, coming in as a youngster at Essex, and to have him sort of say stuff like that, it's obviously again very humbling and very, very kind, and I think it just is such a top bloke and such an incredible bowler as well, so to have anyone like that sort of respect and sort of those kind words coming from someone like that is extremely sort of gives you a lot of confidence, and I think he, as I say, he's one of my best mates, and very kind of him.
And what's it like then, being part of the setup? What's the training been like? What's the buzz been like? I mean, how have you found it?
It's been phenomenal. It's been such a welcoming environment to come into. The lads have been very welcoming and made it sort of very easy to come into the group. The training's been second to none as well. The intensity's been incredible, and it's been brilliant to sort of test your skills in that environment. And everyone's been brilliant. Sort of the facilities, the training, like I say, all the support staff. It's been second to none. So it's been incredible experience so far, and hopefully one that will continue.
The talkSPORT team are going to be up here for this Test match. We're looking for a pub that's going to be showing the Europa League final. Have you worked out where you're going to watch it? Can we come to your room and watch it?
I was going to say, I'm not sure there's enough room for all the United fans in Nottingham, so I'll definitely be tuning in, but I think it's fair to say it won't be from a pub. I know Nottingham quite well, but I'm not sure about where would be the best to watch that, but I'll certainly be tuning in from the quiet sort of surroundings of my room, more so that people can't see how I behave during a football game. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully United come out on the right side.
Well, Man U win and a debut Test and a fifer, and I mean that'd be the perfect week, wouldn't it?
Yeah, let's hope it goes that way. I think I'll take each day by it comes. Try not to look too far ahead, but hopefully the United lads can start the week off on a positive.
So that was Essex fast bowler Sam Cook, soon to be England and Essex fast bowler Sam Cook, speaking to me yesterday. I've also caught up with Ben Stokes here at Trent Bridge today, where the sun's out. The mowers are on the outfield, which looks a bit scarred actually. It's certainly not a verdant green wherever you look. So we'll talk a little bit about the pitch, the conditions, the weather, which isn't set to be too great over the next 2 or 3 days. I think it's going to be dry, but almost perfect conditions for English fast bowling. So we'll talk about that with Jarrod Kimber. You'll hear from Ben Stokes and you are listening to Following On, England Test Summer Preview here on talkSPORT 2 and the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel.
On talkSPORT 2.
You're listening to Following On here on talkSPORT 2, live from Trent Bridge as we build up to England's one-off test against Zimbabwe, which starts on Thursday. Ball-by-ball commentary available for overseas listeners on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel, which is also joining us today. But let's hear now from the England captain Ben Stokes. It'll be his first match of the year after recovering from a hamstring injury that he picked up when talkSPORT were out in Hamilton, the back end of the New Zealand tour in December. And earlier today, I caught up with him to look ahead to this test. Well, Ben, thanks for talking to us on talkSPORT. First up, your coach yesterday was saying that you are in great shape. So it proves, after all the hard work that's been put in over the summer. I mean, this is why you do it, isn't it? Is there anything better than the day before the first test of a summer or a series?
Yeah. First game of the summer, you sort of always wish it was the start of the game. It's been a long time since we've been together as a group. Obviously, our last game was in December in New Zealand, so coming towards the back end of May now, considering it's at 4.5, 5 months pretty much. And yeah, obviously I had a surgery start of January and a long rehab period. So to finally be here and be stood here the day before the first Test match of the summer is a pretty good feeling.
There's a few headlines about you giving up the booze. You haven't had a drink since January the 2nd. If you win this Test match or you beat India, are we not going to see some post-match celebrations with a glass of something?
I think that's been headlined again. I just didn't have any drink while I was in my rehab period. I'm not completely off it. I'm just obviously being very mindful about what I do sort of pre-game and what I do after the games now, because obviously I've had a few injuries to deal with and I'm getting older, so I'm just being a lot smarter around sort of what I do in terms of my preparation and my recovery, with obviously everything that's been going on with me over the last couple of years.
There has been a few injuries over the last couple of years. You've had to miss out some games altogether. There's been some matches where you haven't been able to bowl. Even in New Zealand, when talkSPORT were out there, you seemed almost adamant that you were still going to be the man that, if needed to, was going to bowl 10, 11 over spells. You're going to be banging the ball in. You're going to be putting pressure on the knees. Am I right in thinking, listening to Brendan yesterday, that maybe come over 6 or 7, if there's a tap on the shoulder, you might just ease off a little bit, just preserve the body?
Yeah, look, me and Baz have had some really good chats around this kind of stuff, and from his point of view, it's about being just sensible, because when I am, sort of get into those type of mindsets and those modes where I'm just sort of tunnel vision towards, I don't know, like going through the hard stuff, like bowling those long spells, sort of it can take me away from my other job, which is obviously leading the team and thinking tactfully about the game as well. But obviously, from his point of view, it's, I'm better off being on the field than off the field. So it's just being way more sensible about that, understanding that myself. And sometimes those kind of things are better coming from someone who's close to you and understands you and has a, definitive reason about why we're speaking about this. And when you sit down and you talk about it and you go through it and you understand it, it makes it a lot easier to actually, when you're out there in the heat of the battle, to take a step back from that and go, okay, if I was to maybe bowl 1 or 2 more here, it's not really going to be any benefit towards the team. We've got other boys who can do that, but there's no worries about me bowling. I'll just be mindful and be looking to be a little bit more sensible maybe than I was in the past.
One of the things that has really impressed about this England team under you and Brendan is the way that players have come into this side over the course of the last 2 or 3 years and immediately succeeded, whether that's Jamie Smith or Gus Atkinson, Jacob Bethel, Shoaib, Matthew Potts. I mean, the list is quite a long one. Obviously, it's a comfortable or more comfortable dressing room to walk into now. I mean, but can you put your finger on what it is that you and the team do that enables these players who are, this is the culmination of their life, are able to come in and then go and do their job on the field with such stunning success?
Yeah. The biggest thing for us when we first started was taking that burden and that pressure of going out there and performing. We're not adding to it. There's enough pressure that's on everyone's shoulders when you walk out there and play for your country and play in international cricket in front of sold-out crowds. The thing that we wanted to do was to not add to that. If anything, we wanted to try and take as much of it off as we possibly could. And that was down with how we spoke in the dressing room, how we spoke towards the team, how we spoke to certain individuals, the things that we put in place about the time that we spend together, what we do away from the field together, to bring everyone closer, to make a environment that is not only good but also, just creating an atmosphere in that dressing room where not only did we always want to be there, but also everything we did out on the field was for each other. Taking all the individual thought processes towards the team sport and piling everything into the sort of, team pot is what we call it. But now we feel as if that stuff now is just embedded into the environment that we've created. And now for me and Brendan, it's about, right, we've got that side of this dressing room sorted. What is it now that we need to add to that to go out there and be as good as we possibly can be? Over the last 3 years, we've done some pretty special things. We've performed very well. We've climbed up and up and up that ranking board in terms of, I think we're second now. But as soon as that came out, I'd actually text Rob Key and Baz saying, right, one more spot to go. And that's where I want to take this team. There's no doubt in my mind that we have the players that are able to do that. But yeah, it's all about adding to what we've already created, and making everyone as good as they possibly can be, because the talent in this dressing room is, undoubtedly exceptional.
Brilliant. Well, enjoy, good luck, and here's to a successful summer and winter.
Thanks very much.
Ben Stokes speaking with me earlier today here at Trent Bridge. Myself, John Norman, alongside Jared Kimber. Jared, as part of a show we do on YouTube, I asked a question of you and Bumble. Who will go down, or if Ben Stokes wins the Ashes at the end of the year, will he go down as England's greatest ever Test captain? And the old names came out. We discussed the Brearleys and the Vaughans and the whoever's. One of the areas I think Ben Stokes has done so well, and we spoke about this, is to bring through players. For a long, long time, England teams used to welcome in seriously gifted individuals, and these individuals, as we spoke about earlier today, in terms of making their debuts and whether they succeeded or failed, they seem to fail a lot more than they succeeded. But under Stokes, his success rate with bringing in players from Shea Bashir and Tom Hartley through to Jamie Smith and all the others is very high. And I'd say that's certainly something that you can say he should be proud of.
Do you remember Darren Pattinson's debut?
Of course, yeah. In fact, didn't he play for Nottinghamshire?
He did. Do you remember Michael Vaughan being confused at who Darren Pattinson was and what he did? And not having a go at Michael Vaughan, that was a selection that was sprung on him from outside the game. And, I don't think they realised that Darren Pattinson was already cooked by that stage in the summer. He never bowled so much in his life as he had that year. He hadn't played professional cricket really all that long, didn't play a lot of games in Australia or anything like that. That wouldn't happen now, because now, if Stokes was there, they'd be like, okay, so this is what we're bringing him in for, right? And it's more, I don't want to get to, but it's more total cricket, right? Like, so when Stokes is involved, because he's involved, it means that he understands these players when they come in, right? And he has, he with NV Play and all the, the things that they have on their phone when they can look at the clips. If he doesn't know anything about Sam Cooke, last night I looked at about 500 deliveries of Sam Cooke, right? I just loaded them up on my computer and watched them up, ball after ball, just to try and get a pattern of everything. Stokes can do that now. Anyone in the English team can do that now. So it's just more of a team culture than it used to be. And I think he respects talent as much as he does performance. Zach Crawley's maybe the best example of that, right? Shoaib Bashir is another one where he's just like, no, I trust their talent. Yes, they haven't done it yet, but I believe they can. Not everyone does. There are other people who would go the other way, right? They're like, well, how many runs has this person made? Can they make them, in Derby on a wet Tuesday sort of thing? He's not that. I don't think he thinks that way, where other England captains certainly have.
Is this the defining era or the defining period? I mean, in 2 or 3 years' time...
Will Bazball bust, is what you're asking?
Well, not whether it will bust, but if it does, over the course of the next 8 months or so, will we look back and say, 2022 was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think the problem with coming up with a great strategy in sport, in modern life, is how long before everyone else can just pick the bones out of it? Like, Zimbabwe for a little while were using the Bazball strategy, right? Pakistan has used it. So it's no longer a surprise. People are now used to, in test matches, going up against a team trying these sorts of things. So at the end of the day, you're kind of back with talent again, right? And is the England team that talented? Not really. I know Stokes said there, but man for man, are they more talented than the Australian or the Indian sides? No. Doesn't mean that they won't win. They're not that far behind. But they're not this hugely talented team, and strategy can get you a long way, and mindset has probably got them even further. When it comes down to it, eventually, they actually have to beat better sides, and I think they've struggled with that.
Okay, we're also going to hear from Brendan McCullum, or rather you will. He spoke yesterday. There does seem to have been a gear shift within the mentality, the process that has been going on within this England side. They are aware that they kind of threw away a golden opportunity against India. On talkSPORT at the start of 2024. They could have beaten Australia back in 2023. And if they're going to be successful against the same two sides this year, then maybe some things are going to have to change. We heard from Stokes himself, maybe he's not going to be bowling those 11, 12 over spells because he is mindful that whilst his mind might be willing, his knees aren't necessarily there for him in the same way that they were when he was a 20-year-old. So Brendan McCullum spoke yesterday, and you'll be hearing that very shortly here on following on England Test Summer Preview on talkSPORT 2 and the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel.
On DAB+, online, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. This is Following On talkSPORT 2.
This is Following On, live from Trent Bridge. Myself, John Norman, alongside Jarrod Kimber, as we look ahead to the start of what could be the defining 8 months of Bazball. Brendan McCullum, the England coach, speaking yesterday to the media, and just like Ben Stokes when speaking to talkSPORT earlier today, very honest, and there was just a couple of moments in that press conference where I just thought, he made reference to the played 17 and won 1 test record that he inherited. He made reference to the fact that this is a different team, more successful team than it was back then, and therefore maybe expectations can be higher because we're coming from a higher base. He spoke about the need of maybe Ben Stokes tempering things back. We heard from Stokes earlier on, and maybe not bowling those spells, and maybe somebody being out there on the field to just tap him on the shoulder and not be scared and just say maybe somebody else can take the ball from here. And he also spoke about the communication. One of the best lines he came out with, he said, look, these guys are 20-year-old professional sportsmen. They're not, and he paused because he couldn't quite think of the right thing to say, but he said they're not professional media folk. And you knew what he meant, because at the end of the day, the England team have been pied at times by some, unfortunate utterances post-match and between series. And they've also been taken out of context as well. That's what the media do and does. Let's hear
us media folk.
Well, we do, don't we? We have to make things interesting. We have to have points to talk about. We have to focus in on things. Essentially, we need to keep the narrative going. That's what it's all about. So we have to share the responsibility in that and understand that actually he does have a point. We know what Ben Duckett was meant to say. We know that. But unfortunately, when it's dissected up or quoted or whatever, and you've got you've got your own demands as a professional person, these things can be magnified in a way that they shouldn't. Either way, let's hear from Brendan McCullum. First off, discussing the challenges of managing Ben Stokes' workload.
Yeah, I think they've got a bit of a role to play there. I mean, it's hard, right? Because Stokes is such a competitor. and he puts himself through so much. But I think after the most recent setback, I think there's a realistic understanding that you need to make sure that you're able to trust in those around you, but also not push yourself to the point of breaking. Use yourself in more varied spells and in shorter bursts. And so, that's one of the things we're going to have to keep working on, is in the heat of the battle, is just making sure that the skipper doesn't push himself too far, which won't be easy, but we'll get there.
So one of the things that has come out of the England camp over the last couple of years is we ain't for turning. We are not going to change. This is what we're about. This is what we're going to do. You only have to go back to December. Ben Stokes is saying, look, I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be hurtling over that boundary in the manner that we saw Jack Leach get injured within an over of his first test under Brendan McCullum. I'm going to continue bowling 12-over spells in a manner that's seen him miss a lot of test matches over the last few years. But actually, they are aware and they are listening, and actually they are changing, aren't they?
Yeah, what's the Latin phrase? You may break us but never bend us. Like, I get it, I'm all for that, but at a certain point, they put themselves into positions at times where they're in front in a game, and they'll take a bigger risk to not get any further in front in the game. And you think to yourself, well, is this posing? Is it posturing? And, we've all talked about the Kool-Aid part of baseball, right? Of which, it's so weird because McCullum doesn't like that phrase, and the England camp don't love that phrase.
What, the Kool-Aid bit or the baseball bit?
Well, both probably. But you talk about the media folk and quoting people out of context and everything. They've said a lot of stupid things that are obviously stupid, and what they've started doing is doing press conferences for the change room rather than press conferences for fans and media, right? And so because of that, I can tell you this, pretty much every opposition team in the world has been laughing at them because they're just like, but they're going to say something stupid here, and and we're going to be able to deal with that. Eventually, this the sort of the cult-like nature of baseball had to fade a little bit, didn't it? Because these are not stupid people, but they did get caught up in their own hype quite a bit. And I remember talking to Earl Dravid after he was coach, and he was talking about how when he played England, he's like, they told me exactly everything they were going to do. We knew exactly what they were going to do. There was no subtlety to it. It was like, okay, so let's just plan for the thing that they've told us they're going to do, and they told us they're never going to change it either. Like, that just makes the opposition team's job a lot easier. There's a lot of things that English cricket do that I've never understood, like telling everyone what the lineup is going to be before a game, which only seems to please the media and doesn't seem to help English cricket at all.
Well, let's talk about the public perception. Brendan McCullum spoke about that and whether certain comments in the media help.
It's not intentional, right? I think sometimes our guys say things without, they mean no harm, if that makes sense. It's just that sometimes they're trained cricketers, we're not trained media folk, right? And so you're growing up on the international stage, they're still young men. Sometimes you're going to make comments that aren't necessarily what you mean or intended to mean or be perceived in the way that you thought they were. And I think it's our job, it's probably Danny's job too, to be honest, to look after them and to make sure that the messaging that we're talking and what we say is actually is heartfelt and what we're actually trying to give off the impression of, and to, you know what I mean, we just want to make sure we're in touch with the English people, because ultimately there's lots of franchise cricket, there's lots of other opportunities in life, but you only get one opportunity to play cricket for England, and these guys are immensely proud of it. They work unbelievably hard, they sacrifice so much, but we've just got to be a bit smarter with some of our comments that we make, and we will be, and the guys understand that. What we say in the dressing room is used for different reasons, right? There's ways that you're trying to keep confidence levels up, there's trying to keep the ambition high, there's still that ability to bring a game out of the fire even if you're miles behind it. So what we say in that dressing room is often very different to what you expect to come out in the public forum, and that's just life, right? Otherwise we'd have cameras all through the dressing room and you guys wouldn't need to have a job. We just got to be aware of that, smart enough to be able to make sure that we articulate things on when we get the opportunity, so that we don't lose touch with the English people. We want them along for the ride, particularly in the next few series, which could be quite amazing. And we want people to look back and say, crikey, that team in the sort of mid-2020s was a hell of a team that we loved following, and we felt as if we were a part of that journey they went on.
So there we go. He speaks very well, does Brendan. He's a reluctant speaker at times, But, you know, you can't move for people who tell you just how inspirational he is as a coach and as a captain. Remember what New Zealand achieved underneath his stewardship. He was also asked about the age-old question, Zach Crawley and also Ollie Pope. Both of those players come into this series, as they always do, under the microscope. I don't think we need to say anything more about Zach Crawley. That hasn't been said a billion times. But Ollie Pope is an interesting one. Now, on the face of it, it all comes down to the currency of runs, right? Currency of runs. Ollie Pope batting at number 3. Now, he's just had a successful tour of New Zealand, I would say. He played his part in 2 match-defining partnerships with Harry Brook, who did take the headlines. Brook went past 100 on both occasions. Pope hit 50s in both, but you know, he walked to the crease on both occasions. England under a lot of pressure, and so you'd say that he'd had a successful tour. Now, he also kept wicket, and he's been the captain, and he's been vice-captain. So where does that come into the equation when essentially you're making a call on whether he is the right number 3? Because you're going to need an Ollie Pope to fulfil one of those roles at some point if a Jamie Smith breaks a finger or something untoward happens, if the number 3 batter has to go, if Ben Stokes breaks down. It's not quite as simple as just saying, well, you haven't scored enough runs, so we're going to bring Jacob Ethel in, or is it?
Do you remember when Joe Denley was around? And a big part of the reason that Joe Denley was playing for England was the utility factor. He could bat in the top 3. He could probably bat.
What was it, a dentary?
Yeah, a dentary.
He always faced 100 deliveries.
Yeah,
something like that.
And he could bat. He could bat anywhere in the top 3. Maybe number 4. He could bowl a little bit of leg spin as well. He's an experienced player. I think there's a bit of this with Ollie Pope. He's a younger version of it. And we see KL Rahul in India would maybe be another version of this, where you're just like, he could do a little bit of everything, so let's make him do a little bit of everything. And it's like, you've got him batting at number 3 in an era when batting averages have been as low as any period, you know, since the 1950s. He's probably going to struggle. The Kookaburra ball has been reinforced. It's snipping around everywhere. Everyone's bowling this wobble ball. No one's really found a way to come over it. Now you're going to ask him to vice captain, but he's kind of half out the team. Now he's going to have to captain. Now he's going to wicket keep. It just feels to me that they're using him as a utility, and I'm not sure that they're not just. How can he know who he is as a cricketer at the moment and who he's supposed to be? The truth is, John, he's probably not good enough to bat number 3 in Test match cricket, especially in an era like this. It's really tough. The other truth is, John, there probably isn't anyone else who is talented enough to bat at number 3. Maybe this summer might change things a little bit, but right as we're like Jacob Ethel was like a science experiment at number 3, wasn't he? I'm not saying he might not end up being able to do it, but it was a shot in the dark. So it just feels like there's so much that can go wrong with this, and so Ollie Pope is going. Is it Bairstow again, where you're just asking him to do so many different random things and hoping...
Moeen Ali?
Yeah. So there's been a few England players that have sort of done this. I don't know, role definition seems to be a bit stronger in some of the other nations around the world. And Tristan Stubbs is batting first drop for South Africa at the moment, and I think they all knew it's a bit of a push, and he's got the talent, but is he ready to bat at number 3? Don't think they were making him vice captain and also say, can he be the backup keeper? Do you know what I mean? I think Tristan Stubbs' job is just to work out if he can be a number 3 batter for a little while, and then when he's good at that, they might try other things. It just feels with Ollie Pope and that they try and just jam all these other ideas in.
Okay, we have spoken at length about England. We're going to turn our attention to the opponents for this 4-day Test match. Zimbabwe coming up here very shortly on following on England Test Summer Preview on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel and talkSPORT 2.
Following on talkSPORT 2.
We've gone a bit upbeat for the last section of the show here on talkSPORT 2, the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel. You're listening to Following On England Test Summer Preview. Myself, John Norman, alongside Jared Kimber. We haven't spoken about Zimbabwe. They're actually playing more Test cricket this year than England are. That's going to be the first time ever.
It's so random, and it's great for me because the Test matches start at about 8, 9 in the morning. Yeah. It's like a business day Test match. It's absolutely perfect. So I've actually watched a bunch of Zimbabwe. So when they beat Bangladesh, everyone was like, "How's this happen?" I'm like, guys, where were you at 9 a.m. on all these other days? They've been playing good cricket for a while now.
Well, that was in Bangladesh, so you must have missed the first session.
No, I missed that one entirely. That was the wrong time zone. I don't do Bangladesh tests. I don't understand.
Well, look, I'm pleased to say that former Zimbabwe international Ed Rainsford is going to be part of our commentary team here on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel over the course of the next 4 days. And he spoke with Neil Manthorp and Steve Harmison on this week's Cricket Collective, reflecting on what this game will mean for the people of Zimbabwe.
Everyone is so excited. Yesterday I had to drop my daughter off to get onto a bus. She's going away for a week on a school trip. Almost every parent sort of just came up to me and was like, "Oh, we're so excited. Are you going over?" I said, "Yes, I'm going over. We can't wait to watch. We can't wait to see how the lads go." I mean, if you go onto social media, from the Zimbabwe Twitter account or the X account or whoever, sort of the journalists as well, everybody is so excited to have this test match happen. I think from the administrative side as well, from the playing side, from the ex-players, I understand that some of the ex-players that are in and around England are also trying to make their way to Nottingham to make their presence felt as well. So it's a really important one, but a really exciting one for Zimbabwe.
Is there apprehension that the team will be able to live up to the occasion, Ed? I mean, it's been 20 years of Test cricket struggle. I mean, a voluntary stepping aside from Test cricket for 5 or 6 years. And now it seems finally the rest of the cricket playing world is once again beginning to embrace Zimbabwe. I mean, there's 11 Test matches this year. I think that's more than you've had in the last decade.
Yeah, again, credit to the administration that's been able, and they'll be hosting most of them at home. So it's not the cheapest thing to do to host Test matches, but they've decided to do that, and they want Test cricket to be a real cornerstone of their year this year and their cricketing season. But yeah, the apprehension is there to some degree, but I think it's more excitement. They really want to get onto the field. They really want to come out here and sort of create a little bit of history as well. And so important that the door has been open for Zimbabwe to play against England, hopefully against Australia. I know they'll have South Africa after South Africa play the World Test Championship final against Australia. They've got 2 Test matches at home against them and then New Zealand. But they'll really want to focus on this and they really want to do well. I know it's going to be a tough ask. It's a 4-day test. You know, I've been following a little bit of what Ben Stokes has been speaking about, and he's saying, you know, I will give them the respect they deserve, but it's also a summer of cricket where they kick off their test summer and then go into India, so they'll be trying to get their ducks in a row. So Zimbabwe possibly want to just stay in the moment, I think, and try and really sort of give everybody that little bit of excitement and try and elongate the game.
How do you feel personally? I mean, you made your debut as you're fresh out of school. I mean, you know, Zimbabwe cricket was in a crisis then. It's been in a perpetual crisis for 20 years. You've now made a name for yourself as an established commentator. You've commentated around the world, but not in England. So how do you feel?
Oh, I tell you what, Manners, it's a bucket list. You know this, and I can be extremely honest with everybody and yourself. And I said this to you probably 2 months ago. I said, Manners, if there's anything I could do in my cricketing career or my commentary side of things is to commentate on a game of cricket in England. And how perfect is it that it's against Zimbabwe and the home side, England, in Nottingham. And it's an absolute privilege. I'll be nervous as well, man. You're going to have to hold my hand, my sweaty palms, as I try and get my words out. But it's an absolute privilege, and I'm so thankful for the opportunity, and I actually can't wait.
Yeah, we can't wait, but, you know, I remember the Ireland Test match that England played a couple of years ago. Can you remember? It went to the second innings, and I think Ireland were only set 180 to win the game. It was a few years ago, and I just remember one of the RTE cricket commentators walking off after that game, and I've not seen many people look more disappointed. Ireland were just blown away in the second innings, and it looked like the game was actually in the balance for about an over, and then very quickly you knew Ireland were just going to get bowled out very cheaply, and that was it. And England have played Ireland since. I don't think it was that game that they played in 2023. I think it was the one before that. There's excitement about being given the opportunity, right? But there's also going to be some fear there about being embarrassed, or about being over early, or not taking advantage of your one opportunity, because it's been 20 odd years, isn't it, since Zimbabwe were here. I don't think it'll be 20 years again, before they're invited back. The political situation between our two countries has changed. Hopefully it won't regress. But you can understand why there is also some real nerves for everyone associated with Zimbabwean cricket, that there's a good show over the next few days.
Yeah, they haven't played a lot of high-pressure cricket outside of World Cups. They do have a few guys who've obviously played franchise-level cricket now, and, Sikandar Raza's been in the IPL, and, Blessing Muzarambani has played all around, and Sean Williams is a very, experienced cricketer. But they've got some younger players who don't have that as well, and it's a big moment to step into in a way that playing against Bangladesh wasn't. Right, it's just not.
Exactly,
there's a lot of pressure playing Bangladesh in different ways. One, you're playing someone who's more seen as your equal, and the Bangladesh crowd is incredibly passionate. But it's not quite the same. This feels like that. This almost feels like the comeback. And do you remember the 2022 World Cup when they did really well, Zimbabwe, and all the Australian Zimbabweans followed them around the country, and then it ended up with the Pakistan Mr. Bean controversy, everything that has been, even when it's positive about Zimbabwe cricket over the last couple of years, has always been a little bit of a sideshow or a joke or something else. The last year and a half, they're just putting together a really good side, right? They're starting to make it about positive cricket reasons to think about them again.
So, come on then. Let's fast forward to day one of the Test match. And Zimbabwe win the toss under cloudy skies, and they decide to bowl first. And I imagine that's what they will do. Who are the players? We know a lot of the batters. A lot of the batters have been around the side for a long, long time, and even those that haven't, like Ben Curran, we kind of know him through Northampton and the Curran brothers. But to give us an idea of the players that, if Zimbabwe are going to compete, they're going to have to really perform.
Well, Blessing Muzarambani is kind of the famous one, isn't he? Is he 6'10", 6'9", 6'11"?
I don't think he's quite that tall. I think he's 6'8".
Is he? He feels taller.
6'11". He
looks tall. Have you seen him?
Yeah. I don't think he's 6'11".
He's 7'4". He's a very clever bowler, a very highly skillful bowler. They're a bowling team, really. It's funny that they're kind of more known for their batters because some of those batters are older and have been around or have played franchise cricket. But they're really a bowling team in Test cricket, and Blessing has been at the part of that. I wouldn't say he's like in the best 5 new ball bowlers in the world, but I'm not sure he's that far behind that group. And I mean, with him, I almost mean very new ball. He's incredible when the ball is absolutely brand new, and he does get that extra bounce and he can move the ball sideways. They've got Ngarava, of course, as well, who's a very highly talented player. Chatai, who's been around with them for... Well, I think he won a Test match against Pakistan in 2013. So they've got seam bowlers around, and then they're very lucky to have batters who can bowl a little bit when it comes to spin. So, they've got people like Sikandar Raza and Sean Williams and a few other guys who can, do a little bit of bowling as well. So this is probably going to be their seam attack, but at home, quite often they'll bowl for about 20 overs with the new ball with their seamers, and then they chuck it to spinners and they try a bunch of different things as well. So certainly they've got, I think they've got a decent bowling lineup for a team that's not very good. This is not like a top-level world-class team. They're actually quite deep in a few different positions.
Jared is going to be part of the commentary team, which you will be able to hear if you're watching the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel overseas. And by overseas, I mean not in the United Kingdom. Yorkshire Caviar has messaged us on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube stream. He says, I'd love to see Jared make a sequel to Death of a Gentleman. Such a great documentary. Just Incredible says, get rid of 40 or 50 over cricket and just keep testing T20. At the moment, the formats are all over the place. You can drop comments in throughout our commentary, which gets underway at 10:30 UK time here at Trent Bridge tomorrow on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel. But for now, thanks for listening to Following On talkSPORT 2 and via the talkSPORT channel. Next up, it's Racing Live racing from Chepstow. Cheers, Will. Thank you, matey. Seamless. You too. See you, mate.